The sun was barely rising over the open highway when the world of rugged biker Rogan Hale collapsed into a silence that even the roaring wind couldn't break. He remembered holding his newborn daughter, Mira, for the first time, tiny fingers, soft breaths, but no response to the sound of his trembling voice. The doctor's words carved themselves into his heart like a scar that would never fade. Your daughter is deaf. There is nothing we can do. Rogan, a man known for bravery on the road, felt powerless for the first time in his life. What he didn't know was that months later, on an ordinary day beneath a warm sky, a homeless boy would pull out something that would change Myra's world forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected miracles, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Soul Moment Story. Your support keeps these true-hearted stories alive. Rogan had lived his life on wheels, tattoos, leather jacket, grease-stained fingers, and a reputation for riding like the wind itself feared him. But after Myra's diagnosis, he began riding slower. His gang brothers noticed the change, but no one dared to ask. Every morning he sat beside her crib, watching her eyes follow light and movement but never respond to the gentle hums he whispered from a breaking heart. Her mother, Serena, tried to stay strong, but Rogan caught her weeping into pillows when she thought he was asleep. The silence in their home grew louder every day, filling the spaces where dreams used to live. Months passed. Rogan picked up extra mechanic jobs, hoping to save enough for special hearing therapies she might one day be eligible for. He worked until his palms blistered and bled, refusing to let life steal everything from his daughter. But life had its own storms prepared for him. Serena fell ill and her medical bills swallowed what little they had saved. Rogan felt like the world was challenging him to break, daring him to surrender. But he refused. One bright afternoon, when Mira had just turned 3, Rogan strapped her gently into the small carrier mounted on his bike. She loved the vibrations even if she couldn't hear the engine. He planned to take her to the small town fair on the outskirts of the city, a place filled with colors and children's laughter that she could at least see and feel. Maybe, he hoped, it would give her a moment of joy. The fair buzzed with life. Children ran with cotton candy, vendors shouted deals, music floated from the carousel, and Mira watched everything with wide, curious eyes. She lifted her little hands, trying to mimic the movements of other kids, but without sound her world felt halved, half life, half silence. Rogan's heart clenched every time he saw her stare at other children reacting to noises she could never hear. He forced a smile, bending to show her the lights of a spinning ride, when suddenly a small shadow approached from behind the nearby booths. It was a barefoot boy, maybe 12 or 13, skinny, dust-covered, his hair tangled by the wind. People glanced at him and then away, pretending they didn't see him. His clothes were torn, and he carried a plastic bag filled with old, discarded objects. Rogan instinctively stepped between Mira and the boy, protective by nature. But the boy didn't flinch. Instead, he stared at Mira as if he understood something no one else could. His name, Rogan would later learn, was Kale, a homeless orphan surviving on scraps and kindness that rarely came. Kale pointed at Mira gently, his voice soft. Rogan noticed the boy moved his hands in strange, fluid gestures, almost like signs. Mira watched, her tiny eyes widening, her body going still. Rogan froze. It was the first time Mira had stopped fidgeting around strangers. Kale repeated the gestures, slower, his face patient and kind. Mira blinked rapidly, then lifted her small hands, attempting to mimic him. One movement, then another, then a third. Rogan stood stunned. She was responding, communicating, flawfully, clumsily, but beautifully. Kale smiled. She knows this, he asked gently. Rogan shook his head. He'd never seen those signs before. Kale reached into his plastic bag and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. Rogan thought it was just another piece of junk, but Kale unwrapped it with care, a small, second-hand hearing aid kit, old but intact, with batteries taped to the side. Rogan couldn't breathe. It was the exact model Mira needed for testing, something he had tried to save for but could never afford. Kale held it out with trembling hands. Someone donated this to the shelter, but I saw her. I think she needs it more. Rogan felt his throat close. He wanted to speak, but words failed him. Tears, hot and unfamiliar, filled his eyes. He stared at the boy who had nothing, no home, no parents, no comfort, yet was offering something priceless. With shaking fingers, Rogan knelt and gently placed the tiny device behind Myra's ear. She twitched at the strange sensation. Rogan held his breath. The fair's music played nearby, a soft, distant melody. For the first time, Mira blinked and turned her head toward the sound. Slowly, hesitantly, her lips curved into a confused, radiant smile. Rogan collapsed to his knees, pulling Mira into his arms. He sobbed openly, the weight of years breaking and falling away in one moment of miracle. Cale stepped back shyly, unsure if he had intruded. Rogan reached out and hugged the boy with one arm. "You saved her," he whispered raggedly. Cale stiffened, then slowly returned the embrace. No one had held him like that in years. Over the next weeks, Rogan took Cale in, offering him warm meals and a safe place to sleep in the garage workshop. Cale taught Mira sign language. Mira taught him how it felt to belong. Serena, once consumed by worry, found her eyes lighting up again watching the strange, beautiful bond growing between her daughter and the boy who had once lived in shadows. Rogan realized that sometimes angels didn't have wings. Sometimes they had dirty feet, sad eyes, and a bravery the world overlooked. If this story touched your heart even a little, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more real, soul-deep stories to Soul Moment Story. Special request, comment, kindness lives, if you believe the world still has good people in it. And so, under the bright daylight skies where their story began, Myra's world finally opened, because a homeless boy had the heart to pull out hope when no one else could.